Hello, and here we are on our 26th episode of our Science of Compliance podcast, where we aim to debunk myths around compliance being a business barrier to show how governance, risk, and compliance can enable your business to not only survive, but thrive now, particularly during turbulent times. In this episode, we welcome and are delighted to welcome Tessa Lee, Managing Director of Moneyinfo, a fintech specializing in building industry-leading client portals and mobile apps. And we want to better understand Tessa's practical experience, which is extensive, by the way, in retail financial services and how Moneyinfo is supporting their clients in meeting market and regulatory challenges. Hello, Tess.
Hi, Chris. How you doing? Great to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
I know we're delighted to get you on. We've been after you for quite some time, Tess, but we finally got you on, which is great news.
I'm very in demand, obviously.
You are in demand,
apparently.
Well,
I doubt that somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know how busy you are and the team are, and we want to hear all about it today.
Great.
What you're up to, but I think with our podcast, what we like to do is get to know the individuals as well. So our listeners and viewers now can get to know a bit more about your good self as well. So it'd be helpful just to start with telling us a bit about your background and your journey in the industry with your career to where you are today.
Okay. Well, like a lot of people I speak to that are in financial advice and financial services, I kind of fell into it really. I straight after university, I did a degree in classics and classical archaeology, and my intention was to be the next Indiana Jones. But then I realized that being the next Indiana Jones wasn't going to pay rent very quickly. So I did what you did in those days, and I looked in the paper, the local paper, and I ended up working for a brilliant IFA firm locally, initially as a junior administrator. And I spent a few years there getting to know the ropes of financial advice and what it was all about. And I ended up taking on responsibility for the IT at the time. And one of the things that business was doing was changing their IT system, and they were implementing Advisor Office, which was quite new at the time. And as a result of that, I kind of built a relationship with the guys at Advisor Office, and I ended up going to work for them a couple of years later. And really, from a fintech perspective, that's where it all started for me. And I pretty much did most roles in that business, from help desk to testing to product management to CRM, business consultancy, training, all sorts of roles. It was an exciting place to be. The only thing they didn't let me out was coding, which was probably a good idea, because I leave that to the clever ones now. And it gave me a really good grounding in technology and a real passion for it, particularly how we design technology to help financial advice firms work better. And as a result of that, I was there for just shy of 10 years. That business, as you'll probably know, sold eventually became part of IRS as today. Advisor Office has been put to bed a little while ago, so no longer around in the market. But not long after that business sold, I decided to leave and set up by myself with a couple of colleagues, and then we became part of Moneyinfo quite shortly after that. Really, we the three of us and our CEO Mick MBO'd that business in 2014, and I guess the rest is history. And now here I am 10 years later, delivering brilliant client portals and technology to financial advice firms and wealth managers. So yeah, perhaps quite a steady journey through financial advice and technology, but given me a really good grounding and understanding how technology works within those businesses and how we can best help them to have a better way to do business, particularly now with digital interaction with their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are steeped in the tech space. About with your experience, which is fantastic. And one of the things that we like to know about our guests is about what challenges have you faced during your career, and how did you overcome them?
God, I'm kind of somebody that just kind of believes that if you work hard, you'll get somewhere, right? You roll your sleeves up, you get stuck in. I'm quite a curious person. I like to understand stuff. So I don't think I've ever had any, huge challenges in my career. Obviously, traditionally this business has been very male dominated. So, you do you do come across some misconceptions about yourself as a woman in financial advice and technology. Sometimes I've had, times where I've been on meetings and people have thought I was like the project manager, not the managing director, because I'm a girl. But I find it, slightly amusing, and we can soon correct that. But I love it. I think if you work hard, if you get stuck in and you roll sleeves up, then anybody can achieve whatever they want to. So I wouldn't say that, I've had huge challenges in my career. I've loved it, and here I am.
Fantastic, great. It's great to hear. And so, obviously, we'd like to know a bit more about Moneyinfo, for those viewers and listeners who don't know much about you. So,
Yep.
it'd be helpful to know a bit more about the nuts and bolts about your services, and obviously your fantastic products in the marketplace, and how you're helping wealth management businesses, financial advisor businesses, and planners meet their regulatory challenges on an ongoing basis.
So look, it's a really exciting place for us to be right now. And as you know, Chris, we work with forward-thinking, ambitious financial advice firms, wealth managers, DFMs, to deliver client portal technology to help them work with their clients in a more efficient way, to drive efficiency through the business, to drive client engagement, to increase profitability, to give them compliance confidence, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too, and to make sure that they're kind of future ready in terms of the technologies that they have and how they work with their current generation and the next generation of their clients. And I think the client portal space is really exciting right now because, and I guess Moneyinfo's led the charge with this. I think the industry is learning what a client portal actually is now, and it's more than just a client portal, if that makes sense, because I think there's been a preconception that client portal is all about valuations and document sharing and maybe a bit of messaging, but it's so much more than that. And what we've seen over the years that we've been doing this is how the tech space has evolved and how much client-facing technology has become business critical now for advice firms. There was some stuff out in the press this week, which I loved seeing, saying that businesses are more valuable when they've got client portal technology in them. And that's absolutely true, because we need to get our clients digitally engaged with us now, because it's exactly where the world is. So what we've seen is a real shift of processes, those traditional CRM processes coming out of that back office practice management environment, which still has its place, and we integrate with all of them, but coming more into the front end environment where we set, because the client is digitally engaged in those processes. And any advice process, let's face it, starts and ends with the client, which is where we've built our technology from. So it's a really exciting place for us to be. And also at the heart of what we do as well, of course, is aggregation of data. And that's so important in today's world, to have that accurate, up-to-date data about your clients, because you're going to use it in all sorts of different systems. So integration is really important to us, not just from platforms and providers and practice management solutions and other systems, but what we're really seeing now, and what we're at the heart of, is a sort of new model technology ecosystem where firms are able to bring together their choice of technologies within their business. And typically they might have practice management, they'll have their client portal and their Moneyinfo technology, digital relationship management technology right at the center of that. They'll have their platforms, they'll have other tools, their cash flow modelers, their compliance, reg tech tools. All of that needs to come together. And I think what I'm seeing as a tech industry is that we're all becoming much more open and have much more of an appetite to connect our technologies together. So that's really exciting for us right now.
Yeah, I echo that. And I think I was on your website yesterday doing a bit of research on your good selves. And what really stood out was, well, there's two things that really stood out. Is obviously, one is your exemplary case studies with your users, your clients, which I thought was great.
Oh, thanks for that.
But the other stuff was around integrations. I mean, you've got so many integrations on the go now as a business, as you've built it over the last decade or so, or whatever it's been. But just tell us a little bit about your journey regarding the integration, and how you ensure that the integrations do what you need them and what your clients need them to do.
Great question. And again, I think my background and that of some of the team that we have in Moneyinfo today, from those first software advisor office days, has really helped with that, because in that business, we were sort of the pioneers in the industry in terms of valuations. I remember doing the first valuations way back then with, you know, Fidelity and Cofunds and the likes. So we had that kind of pedigree, if you like. But there's two important things that we learned from that. One is that, you know, integration isn't just about taking data from one system into another. It's more complex than that and more nuanced than that in terms of the data that you're getting and what you do with that, particularly in financial advice when you're dealing with complex portfolios with data coming from different sources into the same wrapper perhaps. So what we do uniquely is we're able to take data from lots of different sources for a firm and overlay them together to deliver the best possible picture for that client. And we're not, as an industry, in a place where you can automatically overnight get up-to-date valuations for everything that a client has, because there are, you know, older products out there. I hate the word legacy, but it's what we all use. There are legacy products and systems out there where you can't get that data, but that doesn't matter as long as you're presenting the most accurate picture you can for a client, and you're making sure you're transparent about where that data is coming from and, you know, when it was last updated. But the other piece that I know from working with this for so long now is that when data feeds go wrong, that shouldn't be a problem for our clients to deal with. That should be something that as tech providers we sort out. So one part of our service that our clients really value is we manage all that data for them. So every morning my support team get a series of reports that come out of our scheduler service, and it lets them know where there have been any errors or warnings or information about the data feeds that are running in, so that if somebody's platform feed doesn't send us any files and there's nothing for us to collect, we know about it. And that's important because our firms are putting their data in front of their clients, and they want that reassurance that if something goes wrong, they're not going to get stuck between us and X platform provider back office system saying you need to speak to Moneyinfo, and us going, no, you need to speak to X platform. We manage that for them, and we deal directly with the tech parties that we work with. And that's so important because it's a big overhead managing data from different sources. But what we're now seeing this evolve into as well from an integration perspective, which is exciting, is it's not just about data anymore. It's about business process and driving those efficiencies through businesses and transactional processes. And how do we integrate with platforms, providers, and other systems to support those business processes that our firms are doing, and allow them to bring those processes into their Moneyinfo environment, so that they've got the interaction with client and advisor and platform all coming together in a nice, you know, secure way, through secure messaging, through workflow. It's all there in their activity timeline, what's happening, because the biggest source of friction for advisors and for clients is the ability to keep informed as to what's happening in a process, whether that's they're opening their new accounts or they're transferring assets. It's a real source of friction for advice firms to know what's going on and when, and it disappears from here and their money turns up here 3 weeks later. But in between time, there's a whole communications piece that has to happen. So through the workflow capability we've got, we're now able to do those, and we're working with a number of platforms at the moment to integrate their processes into our environment so that they become part of the advisor's day-to-day activity with both internally and with their clients. So it's really exciting to see how that's evolving, and we're seeing so much appetite now from the forward-thinking platforms to want to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely, and
which is really good.
Yeah, I totally concur with you there. I mean, I think the interesting thing that you've got now is you've got the real opportunity to get tech stacks right than ever before. But the problem that you've also got with that is that you've got kind of like the rabbit in the headlight syndrome for a lot of firms. How are you helping firms, ensure that they realise the true value of Moneyinfo compared to your competitors, and obviously not confusing you, for example, with a back office or practice management solution?
Yeah, so I just feel like I'm on. Do you remember that news thing where somebody walks in like when they're on? That's just one of my builders has just gone past the window, hasn't he? I kind of sensed it over my shoulder there, something happened. So apologies to that. But
eyes in the back of
he's
your
a
head.
lovely chap. He's
Awesome.
a lovely chap. So yeah, I've said this for a long time. Technology is only as good as the people that stand behind it, right? You can have brilliant technology, but you've got to get that support, and most importantly, that adoption model right. And you're right in that there are so many technologies that advice firms can use, and they're not all industry ones now. People are using technologies that are outside of the industry, whether that's appointment booking and scheduling stuff, project management stuff. It doesn't matter. All of that should be available to firms to use, and we should be able to connect those together as best we can. But the support model that goes behind that is really important. And for us, our business is very, very focused on adoption of technology with our firms, because we know I don't want firms coming to me saying, yeah, we like money info, but we only use 10% of it. Because they're not getting value out of their investment in us. So it's really important that we are able to support our firms through that adoption journey, right from when they come on board, ongoing them for the life of their partnership with us. And that is something that we're really proud of at Moneyinfo. I think that comes out in some of the case studies on our website as well, because if we can get firms to really adopt technology and understand it, we can deliver a better way for them to do business, and they get the value out of it, and their clients get the value out of it as well. So we work really hard at that. And it's not just about answering support queries. It's about making sure we're there to hold their hand throughout the process. It's making sure our implementation process is really slick, and it's making sure that we're there for them on an ongoing basis to make sure they get That's why we offer free training for all of our clients for the life of their contract. I don't think training necessarily needs to be something that we make huge amounts of money at, because it's in our interest to make sure our firms can really use the technology. So that support model is absolutely critical, and I'm very proud of the Moneyinfo crew and how they look after our clients, and we get consistently good feedback about it. And I also want people to be able to pick the phone up and talk to us. We are a talk first, we're a relationship company more than anything else, just like financial advisors are. I want our clients to always be able to talk to us on the phone or via Teams or Zoom or whatever it happens to be. That's so important.
I think that's spot on, Tess. I think certainly from our experience, being a newish reg tech, if you like, in the marketplace, and also we don't have any real competitors per se. Our biggest competitor, I'll be honest with you, is Excel spreadsheets, because everybody's on them, right? And these are resources for their compliance and governance and risk management challenges. But I think the key there that you've mentioned, which is kind of crucial, not only to obviously to technology, but any business, is that support, is that relationship support on an ongoing basis. Because if firms aren't going to use it, they'll lose it. It does take effort to actually get technology up and running. You've got to invest time in it, to do that. But you need to be supported in that, because it's new, it's fresh, and so absolutely that what we do something very similar, where we effectively have a whole year's mapped out journey of touch points, we call it, of where firms know what they're going to get, which is the most. So it's managing that expectation piece, I guess.
And it's also about understanding what bits of your technology are going to benefit the different people in an organization. We've got a real mission around advisors using technology, and typically advisors have been very reluctant to use technology because they might have been stung by tech projects in the past. I get that. Or they'll see it as a barrier between them and their client, because really what advisors want to be doing is having real quality conversations with their clients, right? They don't want to be keying stuff into systems. So it's us, for us, it's about understanding that and then giving advisors tools that help them to do their everyday job. So we have an advisor app that they can have on their smartphone or their tablet. I don't expect them to be sat in front of a client capturing a digital fact find and keying it in, but if they've got access on their smartphone to their client details, they can see where they're going. They can get directions to that client's address at the click of a button. They can call the client from there. They can see a timeline of activity that's happened for that client. They can see the latest documents that have gone out. They can see their portfolio evaluation. It stops them having to phone up the office and say, look, I'm on my way to see my client, what's going on? They've got all of that information to hand, and it's really easy for them to do, and it saves them time and it benefits them. It's a very simple thing. And again, I've spoken about this before. We're driving advisors to look at that and to see, actually technology can be a real enabler for you. We had an advisor focus group. It's a little while ago now, and we were promoting the advisor app, and advisors are a bit like, oh, I'm not sure about this kind of tech stuff. And while we were there, one of the advisors who is using the app got buzzed on his Apple Watch, and he went, oh, just a minute, I've just got a secure message coming through from my Moneyinfo portal here for my client, straight on his watch. And all the ears in the room then pricked up and they were all like, oh, how do I download that? Where do I go for that? Or, and it's about, showing them it's that easy. It comes through on your watch. You can see a message, because advisors aren't 9-to-5ers, right?
Yeah.
They'll be sat with their smartphone on the arm of the sofa and a message will come in on a Friday evening and they'll think, oh, I'm just, they just want to send it as easy as WhatsApp to their client. And you can do that now. So that's another piece of it, is just tailoring people's experience based on their role.
Well, that's very succinctly put, because I think that the word I honed in on that you mentioned, Tess, was enabling. And technology built well, it's not magic, as we all know. It's lots of blood, sweat, and hard work to get it right, and continue to get it right. But I think the key is, technology built well. If you've got the right tech stack, it's going to enable that business to do things better, not only for the business, but obviously most importantly for the clients. In my world, that's all about regulation as well, obviously.
And my view is it has to be a tech stack now. You're not going to get a single piece of technology that does everything for your business. And if it does, it certainly won't do everything well, right? So I think we as tech providers have to enable firms to have choice and understand there's room for all of us here. There's enough to go out for all of us. And we've just got to keep working away at that integration and bringing those tools together to deliver a great experience for a firm. And one firm and another firm, they're not going to be the same in what they use. And that's okay, as long as we're open. And it's not perfect. Don't get me wrong, Chris. It's not by any means, we're not there yet in that sense. But certainly, I think particularly over the last few years, there's been some really good strides in that. Now that everybody's API driven and stuff, it does make it a lot easier for us to do that.
Well, it does. And then we've got the next thing that's coming down the line, which has kind of already arrived, is generative AI.
Yeah.
And, for all those listeners who are on and viewers on, we've just launched our new generative AI chatbot, compliance chatbot, which is just going live as of this week, which is great.
Yeah, I saw that. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. And, but the idea is, again, it's about enabling people to get, firms and in your case, I guess the clients as well, to get that information that they need, ASAP into their hands in a meaningful format, so they can get on and make decisions and make choices.
And for me, the whole AI piece is very much around that efficiency. That's where it will be really valued, is in how it can make us more efficient, because, we are not and never will try to replace the advisor in this process, because we know that what clients are buying from advisors is peace of mind. That's what they're buying: the relationship, they're buying the conversation, they're buying the peace of mind, they're buying the plan, that's going to show them how they're going to achieve the things that they want to in life. They're not buying the reports, they're not buying the digital fact find, they're not buying any of that. They're buying peace of mind. So anything we can do to take away that heavy lifting and support advisors in those processes and getting them to quality conversations quicker than them having to do a load of admin with a client first is what it's all about. And AI, I think, has a huge part to play. It's something we're exploring too as well. You and I need to have a conversation about this stuff, Chris, separately, I'm sure. But it's something that we're exploring right now. And there are some really simple use cases for AI, because I think there's a lot of noise about it in the industry, but there are some really simple use cases in AI and helping drive efficiency, whether that's just, transcription models, taking meeting notes and coming out with a set of actions off the back of them that can then be reviewed and then automatically sent out to the client through a workflow. That they don't have to be complicated or scary, this stuff, but I think there are some really neat ways that we'll see AI start to take us all a step further. And again, something we're really keen to explore.
Absolutely. Just, with the last 5 minutes or so of the podcast, obviously this is a science of compliance podcast. It'd be really helpful to know, because I know you do really good stuff in this area. You do some compliance within your technology and your client portals software. It'd be helpful to know how you're helping advisor firms against specific regulatory challenges. So take the consumer duty, for example. And, obviously the big one there, I can imagine, and tell me if I'm wrong, obviously, but would be that consumer support piece. More outcomes, you've got the consumer understanding, outcome as well as the products and services and price and value. But I think those two for me stand out for you. How are you helping advisor firms support their clients in those areas.
Again, that word enabling is what we're an enabler for that. And there's lots of ways that we're supporting firms from a compliance perspective in evidencing those consumer duty outcomes.
Yep.
Consumer support, you're absolutely right, 24/7 access to their advisor through the portal. Even things like vulnerable clients, that's a big one. We record client vulnerabilities through the software, but one of the most important things for us for doing that is then so that we can flag to advisors when they might want to tailor communications that go out to those clients because of potentially vulnerabilities that they might have.
Yeah.
An example, we have one of our financial planners. He has a client who's dyslexic and struggles with hefty written reports.
Yeah.
So he actually uses Loom messaging. He records a Loom video message walking through the report or the plan or whatever he's sending out to that particular client, and he sends that through a secure message in the portal, so the client goes on the app and they get a video.
Yeah.
Those again are simple use cases, but they're really effective in demonstrating how you're supporting those vulnerable clients. Consumer understanding, testing, documentation, that can all go through the portal and get feedback from clients. So we have a whole consumer duty guide that we wrote for our firms to show them how Moneyinfo and their portal can support them in those 4 outcomes. Even things like price and value, we have feedback mechanisms in the portal. A lot of our firms use Net Promoter Score, and they'll put that through the client's dashboard and they'll ask for feedback, and then they'll analyze what comes off the back of that. And one of the ways you can demonstrate value is to ask your clients whether they value what you're delivering, right? So there are lots of ways that the technology can help firms in meeting those consumer duty outcomes and, most importantly, evidencing them as well. So it's a huge. We tend to find, as I'm sure I know you do, that regulation is a driver for innovation and a driver for the technology. And we saw the same with MiFID II and the requirement to generate those reports every quarter. That became a big overhead for firms, so we automated it for them. Those things tend to drive us to innovate and to see how we can help support those firms. So they're a positive thing for us. Regulation is not always seen as a positive thing, is it? But they are, and technology can just, this can help so much in helping firms meet their regulatory obligations.
Yeah, I think that's, again, really well put. I think the key as well that I see on your technology, more than the lot that's out there, is helping particularly advisor firms, kind of like look at foreseeable harm. Where could foreseeable harm be?
Yeah.
Because if you've got clients who are not engaging in the right way, or they're showing massive fluctuations on their income, which isn't normal, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
That, your client portal can really support, that key piece. Because I was in with the regulator 2 days ago in Stratford, and talking to them about this. Their biggest concern is obviously price and value, and obviously foreseeable harm. So good technology like yours that can throw up that straight away and showcase, abnormal trends.
It's that transparency of data, isn't it? And that accuracy of data as well, and making sure. And because, as soon as you get the client engaged in that, your data becomes even better. And actually we find clients are willing to share their data via the portal with their advisor, even, things that their advisor isn't necessarily looking after for them. They'll share that because they see the advisor's portal because it's under their brand. They don't know it's Moneyinfo. It's always the firm's app that they're going on to. They see it as the trusted place for everything to do with their financial and their financial plans. So that opens up, more information for advisors, and, as you say, can flag trends and things that's happening within that client's environment that could flag up things that the advice firm really needs to know about.
That's brilliant, Tess. We've covered quite a lot of ground here, and we always kind of finish off these podcasts with some what I call blow the doors off questions.
Oh God, okay.
So first and foremost, just tell our viewers and listeners one thing about you others don't know and you're willing to share.
Oh my goodness. I think a lot of people do know I'm a bit of a geek and I love Star Wars, so maybe that's a bit boring. I think, okay, here's something that people probably don't know that much about, but I think that children across the land will be forever grateful to me. And the reason for that is back in the late 90s, I rescued the Teletubbies from a flood. when they
Oh,
were stuck
really?
in, yes, they were disguised as in their human form, and they were stuck in a taxi. And I rescued them and took them back in my Jeep, these people of 4 different heights that
Yeah.
were shouting, "Yay, little Jeep," as we were going through the flooded lanes. And I got them back to where they were staying. And then Ragdoll Productions turned up a couple of days later with flowers and loads of Teletubby gifts. So children should be
Fantastic.
grateful that I rescued. I'm not sure parents across the land would be very grateful for me rescuing the Teletubbies, but there's
That's
a true story about me.
that's
I'm
a
a
great
hero.
line. You should put that on your bio for sure. And if you could change one thing about the financial planning or financial retail industry and profession, what would it be?
Oh, well, I think we're already doing it, and that's changing. From a tech perspective, it's always been for me about being more open with technology and how we integrate. And we've all been guilty of it in the past, and I think we are seeing that change now. But if we could do it faster,
Yeah.
I'm open to conversations about that. So I think this whole piece around integrated technology, best of breed technologies, an ecosystem that works for every firm based on their priorities, I think is what we're changing along with our other tech friends in the industry, and that's something I think we want to keep doing.
Fantastic. And final question, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I'm not going to say on the beach or on the back of a yacht, because we've got big ambitions at Moneyinfo, and I'm really excited about where we can take this industry, because we're trying to deliver a better way for our firms to do business, and there's always more that we can do. I am excited to see where technology will take us in the next 5 years, and I think we've talked about AI, but I think that there's going to be swathing changes that come as a result of that, and they're not going to be the scary ones. That this is not going to be Skynet from Terminator, right? We're not all going to be out of a job, but I'm excited to see where that is in 5 years' time. So I hope I'm sitting on another podcast with you, Chris, and we're both talking about what we've achieved in that space over the next 5 years, because I think it's going to be an exciting ride.
I'm sure that can be arranged.
Yeah.
Tess, thanks so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, and thanks for having my builder as well.
Well,
I don't know whether he waved, but I'll
he
let him
didn't
know
kind of
he's
wave. He
on.
looked over though, but it's always good to have some random,
Yeah, I'll
random
let him
people in
know
the
he's
background.
immortalised forever in the Model Office podcast. So he'll be pleased to
Absolutely,
hear that
yeah.
when I take him
No,
his brew in a second.
we'll
There he is
definitely
again.
he's
Look,
back. He's
there he
back.
is back.
Brilliant.
He knew we were talking about him.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Give him a wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Good stuff, Tess. Okay, well, look, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on.
You're very welcome.
As
Thank
I'm
you for
sure our
having me.
listeners and guests will.
Thanks, Chris.
No worries. Take care.